Now I'd like to talk about the 5 W's and an H of funerals. The who, the what, the why, the when, and the how. So who? Who is in charge of making funeral arrangements? Well, to pre-arrange, anybody can look after a pre-arrangement on behalf of anyone else. You can do it for yourself, you can do it for a loved one. There's not really a lot of rules around who can do a pre-arrangement. However, when someone passes away, there is sort of a hierarchy of who is legally responsible for making those arrangements. The primary person is your executor. An executor is from your most recent will, and it is not your spouse. Some people think your spouse gets to trump. No, your executor, whoever you've named, gets to make your funeral arrangements. Power of attorney and executor are 2 very different titles. Power of attorney has power while you are still living to make decisions on your behalf. Once you pass away, that power ceases to exist. That is when your executor would take over. Not everybody has a will. So maybe if you don't, put it on your list of things to do, as well as talk about your funeral arrangements. Because if you do not have a will, your spouse is the person who is legally responsible for your funeral arrangements. And that is legally married or common law spouse, depending on your circumstances. If you are widowed or don't have a spouse, you don't have a will, then your children over the age of 18 equally get rights to make your funeral arrangements. So if you have more than one child over the age of 18 and they're not on good speaking terms, we are now in a very sticky situation. So again, put a will on your list of things to do. So do you have a will? Do you know who your executor is? Do they know who they are? And do they know where to locate your will? If you said, yes, you have a will, yes, you have an executor, I think I may have mentioned it to my executor, who they might be. Have a conversation with them. Let them have a copy of your will, because in a time, they may not know where to find it. There are so many people that don't know if their loved one has a will, and they don't actually know where it is located. A lot of people come into the funeral home and they say, yep, I got a will, it's in a safe space. That's great. Have you told anybody where this safe space is? If it is in your safety deposit box at the bank, that is not a good spot for it, because to get into your safety deposit box, they need a death certificate. And to get a death certificate, we need a copy of the will. And now we have a chicken or the egg situation happening. So talk to your executor. Talk to them about what your expectations of them are, where your financial details are, where your pre-arrangement may be. Talk about your funeral arrangements. All of those details are important to your executor. What is pre-arrangement? So pre-arrangement is collecting vital statistics. So we ask 101 questions. And for yourself, you may know the answers to all of these questions. You may know your legal name, your address, including your postal code, your place of birth, your place of death, your parents' name, including your mother's maiden name, your parents' place of birth, your social insurance number, the spelling of your children, your grandchildren, and your siblings. That is a lot of information, and a lot of you may not know the spelling of your grandchildren's names these days. They are all very unique. So you may know that. Does your executor know the answers to all of those questions? Do your children know the answers to all of those questions? Maybe. They might. But then what happens if you pass away and they are now grieving? They may not have slept in days. They might not have eaten a good meal in days. And now they have to try to figure out all of this information. It is actually common for a family to come in, and I will speak to a widow and say, who's your oldest? We're gonna do an obituary. What's the name of your oldest child? Nothing. They cannot remember the name of their children because they are so exhausted and grief-stricken and have so much going on in their minds that the thing is a fleeting thought. So we can get all of that information on file so that your family doesn't have to try to figure it out for you.